everyone, welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET. Now, we will now be taking forward a conversation with respect to insurance. Health insurance, of course, is something that has assumed a lot of importance for obvious reasons. We are, of course, in the midst of the coronavirus, and it's something that has caused people to sit up and take note of course, health insurance in a more serious manner. Well, let me now introduce Amit Chhabra, the Health Business Head of PolicyBazaar.com. Amit, great having you with us today on The Money Show. Let's start off first with, the fact that I'm sure a lot of people now have been taking a lot more interest on Policy Bazaar for health insurance. So tell us about that. Is that something that's gaining a lot of popularity, that one segment among all the other general insurance segments?
Yes, I think these are very, very unprecedented times, and what's happened is there is a lot of fear about one's health, about the expenses that come with COVID, and also what we have a lot of people have seen is that COVID bills ramp up very quickly, and everybody's seen bills of 10-15 lakh rupees, being circulated everywhere. So there is a definite fear towards COVID, and which in as a result means more and more people want to buy health insurance. And the parallel is obviously now we are in a very non-contact kind of a world. So people don't want to meet anybody, don't want to go to a bank or meet an agent. People are very, very comfortable buying online, and that's where Policy Bazaar is able to offer that to a customer. But I think the bigger point is there is definitely increasing awareness about health insurance. People are realizing that a health tragedy for them could happen pretty much to anybody, and it really costs a lot. So you don't want your savings going away completely. That is where a health insurance comes in. Probably costs about 1,000 rupees a month, but it saves you from a catastrophe that could happen in case COVID or anything else strikes you at any point in your life. So people are realizing that value of health insurance now.
Okay. Well, Amit, I suppose even the government is taking cognizance of the importance of health insurance, and hence they have introduced a standard individual benefit-based health policy, which every COVID-19 standard policy, which every insurance company will have to offer. Furthermore, there's also something called as Corona Rakshak and Corona Kavach. Both are two different kind of policies. So if you could just throw some light on this.
Sure. I think first of all, kudos to the regulator, the IRDAI. They've done some great work for the common man here who is not insured or who's never bought insurance. See, you have to so let me just explain what these policies are. So basically, what the regulator has come and said is, one, there is a normal health insurance policy today which anybody can buy. This covers for everything, including COVID. So it could be cancer, it could be heart, or it could be COVID. Everything's covered there. Now, typically these policies are a bit expensive. So just to take an example, for a 35-year-old two adult couple, it will probably cost about 1,000 to 1,200 rupees a month to buy a 5 lakh cover. Whereas if you look to buy say a 1 crore cover, it will cost you about 1,500 rupees per month. So not very expensive, but yeah, it's depending on the affordability. A lot of people may not be able to buy that cover. For those people who are not able to afford that 1,500 rupees a month, that is where what the regulator has said is every insurance company has to also offer a product which is only covering COVID. Now, because it covers only for COVID-19, the cost obviously comes down. So this becomes a lot more affordable to the customer. There are two such products which will come out from various insurance companies. First is called Corona Kavach. This is a indemnity-based product, which basically means it will cover for all the hospitalization costs that comes with COVID. So in case anybody is diagnosed with COVID and they have to be hospitalized, which is typically the case, all the hospitalization costs will be taken care of. The important point to note is this will cover only for COVID, not for anything else. So this is one. The second one is a benefit-based policy, as you were saying. This is where a fixed amount will be paid out to anybody who takes this policy and gets diagnosed with COVID. There is a clause there that you have to be hospitalized for at least 3 days. But once the 3-day hospitalization is done, the fixed amount will be paid out to you directly. So irrespective of the hospitalization cost or the cost of treatment, this amount will be paid out to you as a fixed amount, which can be used for your loss of income. It can be used for the cost of hospitalization, or any other expenses that you might be undertaking. As a customer and for viewers here, I think it's very important to understand this spectrum. If you can afford that 1500 rupees per month, what is most advisable is to go for a comprehensive health insurance cover. The regulator has come out repeatedly and said that COVID is covered in this. So COVID and related expenses will be covered as part of all health insurance policies. The advantage of spending that 1500 rupees per month is that you get COVID as well as coverage for anything else that can possibly happen to you. However, in case it is difficult for you to spend that 1500 rupees a month, which may be with a lot of people, because this is a financially unstable period for a lot of people. That is when you can look to buy at least this Corona Kavach, because this will make sure that you're covered for COVID, which is I think which all of us are very susceptible to right now. However, in the long run, again, given right now it's COVID, tomorrow you don't know what might come up. It's always recommended to be comprehensively health insured, because if you have a good, adequate health insurance policy, then anything about your healthcare expenses will be taken care of till the end.
Okay, so yes, there is Corona Kavach, there's Corona Rakshak. However, it's always recommended that instead of a COVID-specific policy, you go for a comprehensive insurance cover. Because like Amit mentioned, some very frightening news pieces have been coming, to the fray, that now there's even the bubonic plague in Mongolia. So, and I mean, you could be hit with any sort of health problem. So it's always best to take a comprehensive insurance cover, but if for whatever reason you cannot afford it, you can take one of these COVID specific covers. So just to make it very clear, the standard, basically the standard individual benefit based health policy, which will be offered by every insurance company, has two options: Corona Rakshak or Corona Kavach. One is a fixed benefit cover, one is an indemnity cover. What's the I mean, just to understand from you, which one, what do you consider when opting between these two, between a fixed benefit and an indemnity cover? I mean, you being an expert in the world of health insurance, what would you prefer between the two?
See, it depends on what needs somebody has and what existing policies one has. I think very important to first get an indemnity policy, because that is the baseline protection that one must have. And if you also go by how the regulator has come out and said this, so IDA has said that the indemnity policy has to be offered by all insurance companies, because that is the base that everybody must have. What that means is, if you get hospitalized up to a maximum sum insured of 5 lakh rupees, the hospitalization cost will be paid cashless or reimbursed up till the 5 lakh amount. So that, I think, is the bare minimum that one must have. I think the fixed benefit policy is more like additional protection, and the advantage that one gets out of the fixed benefit policy is that it also takes care of loss of income. So just to give you a sense, a lot of people don't get hospitalized for COVID now. People are in home quarantine, they are taking treatment at home. But you end up losing income for that period of time, right? Because you may not be working or going to wherever you work. Now, what the fixed benefit policy does is it also covers you for the loss of income, because it gives you a certain amount. So let's say if you buy a 2 lakh rupee fixed benefit policy for COVID, then in case you're diagnosed with COVID, then this amount will be paid out to you upfront. So it will be a lump sum amount transferred to your bank directly. What that means is you can use this amount for your family, for yourself, for your medicines, pretty much anything. It's up to you. Or you can use this because probably you're not getting a salary for the next 2 months. So that way it gives you that additional protection.
But Amit, just a question over there. You mentioned that the fixed benefit will be paid out only if you are hospitalized for 72 hours, right?
That is correct. So typically, Mubina, what happens in a lot of COVID patients is they do get hospitalized, but once they recover, they come back home, but then they still have to be in quarantine for the next 15 days or so, right? There, the loss of income factor comes in, and it becomes very important for people who are daily wage earners, or who get the salary by the day. For them, it becomes very, very difficult, because there's a loss of income that ends up happening there. That is where the whole concept of fixed benefit becomes very relevant. But again, as a customer, you should always first think about covering indemnity first, because that is the large expense that happens with COVID. Along with that, as an add-on,
Okay.
as an additional policy, as an additional protection, you can probably
Right.
buy the fixed benefit policy as well.
So if you are extremely susceptible to COVID, both of these policies being bought in conjunction will work great in giving you a good and adequate COVID protection. I think that's largely what Amit is trying to say. We would have loved to, talk a bit more about this, but we are a bit under at this point of time. So, Amit, thank you so much for joining us today, and so nicely explaining these two policies that the government has mandated insurance companies offer. Thanks so much for joining us. All right, well, on that note, we will take a very short break on the show, but when we come back, we'll be talking about spending your money on gold. That's one wise investment that people have made over the last couple of years, and the kind of gains that it has given. Here's one such method of investing your money in gold, the sovereign gold bond scheme. The latest tranche is open. We'll be getting a review with Marina Garwal.